Licensure Examination for teachers. Subject: English, General Education, for both elementary and secondary. Topic: Philippine Literature. Question number 1. Which work by José Rizal primarily focuses on the societal abuses and injustices committed by the Spanish friars and colonial government, aiming to expose the ills of Philippine society? A. Mi Ultimo Adios. B. El Filibusterismo. C. Noli Me Tangere. D. A la Juventud Filipina. Correct answer: C. Noli Me Tangere. Why C is correct? Noli Me Tangere, Touch Me Not, is Rizal's first novel. Its core purpose was to paint a faithful, though fictionalized, portrait of the Philippines during the Spanish colonial era, specifically highlighting the corruption, the oppressive power of the friars, frailocracy, and the ignorance of the populace. Why the wrong answers are wrong? A. Mi Ultimo Adios, My Last Farewell. This is Rizal's final poem, a heartfelt declaration of patriotism written just before his execution. It's his farewell, not a social commentary novel. B. El Filibusterismo, The Reign of Greed. This is Rizal's second novel, which is darker and focuses on revolution, revenge, and the failure of reform, rather than a broad exposure of social ills. D. A la Juventud Filipina, To the Filipino Youth. This is an early poem written by Rizal, urging the Filipino youth to use their genius and talent. Edge knowledge. The quickest way to differentiate between the two novels is their tone and purpose. Noli equals no, negative, narration, exposing society. Philly equals fire, fury, fail, darker, about failed reform and brewing revolution. Question number 2.
Sa aking mga kababata, huwag tayong matakot.
To my fellow youth, let us not be afraid, is a famous line that represents the theme of nationalism and the love of one's language. Which literary genre does this line primarily belong to, based on the period it represents? A. Propaganda movement literature. B. Pre-colonial epics. C. American period short stories. D. Spanish period religious texts. Correct answer: A. Propaganda movement literature. Why A is correct? The line, which strongly echoes the sentiment of Rizal and other illustrators, points to the propaganda movement, late Spanish colonial period. This movement used literature, essays, novels, poems, as a tool for political reform and to instill a sense of national pride and language among Filipinos. Why the wrong answers are wrong? B. Pre-colonial epics. These are long narrative poems, Hudhud, Darangan, focused on mythological heroes and ancestral history, not political nationalism. C. American period short stories. This period saw the rise of English language literature. While still nationalistic, the form and language are different. D. Spanish period religious texts. These texts were primarily focused on spreading Catholicism, Doctrina Christiana, Pasión, not political calls to action. Edge knowledge. When you encounter a quote in the LET exam that discusses Filipino identity, rights, or language and is in a formal, urgent tone, immediately link it to the propaganda movement. That entire period was dedicated to using words as weapons for change. Question number 3. Who is recognized as the father of the Tagalog Zarzuela, known for his dramatic works like Walang Suga, No Wound? A. Severino Reyes. B. Francisco Balagtas. C. Lope K. Santos. D. Nick Joaquin. Correct answer: A. Severino Reyes. Why A is correct? Severino Reyes, Lola Basyong, is the correct answer. The zarzuela is a Spanish-influenced dramatic form featuring musical interludes, and Reyes popularized it in the Philippines with works like Walang Suga, which uses the backdrop of the Philippine Revolution. Why the wrong answers are wrong? B. Francisco Balagtas, the father of Tagalog poetry, known for Florante at Laura, a metrical romance or a wit, not a zarzuela. C. Lope K. Santos, known for his novel Banag at Sikat, Dawn and Sunset, a landmark socialist work. D. Nick Joaquin, a national artist for literature, known for his English-language short stories and novels like The Woman Who Had Two Navels. Edge knowledge. For this type of identification question, you need to pair the writer with the genre, title. Reyes equals zarzuela, Balagtas equals a wit, Joaquin equals English, short story. The phrase Walang Suga is an immediate trigger for Severino Reyes. Question number 4. In the short story How My Brother Leon Brought Home a Wife by Manuel Arguila, what is the symbolic significance of the Y-way, hey, on the road? A. It represents the difficulty of Leon and Maria's journey home. B. It symbolizes Maria's urban lifestyle versus Leon's provincial life. C. It serves as a literal obstacle that must be overcome. D. It functions as a test of Maria's willingness to adapt to the simple, rural life. Correct answer. D. It functions as a test of Maria's willingness to adapt to the simple, rural life. Why D is correct. The Y-way, hey, trail, and the entire journey through the fields are a series of subtle tests devised by Leon's father to see if Maria, the urban woman, is simple and strong enough to endure the harsh yet beautiful life in Nagrabcan. Her attitude and willingness to walk through it prove her worth to Leon's family. Why the wrong answers are wrong, A and C. These are literal interpretations. While the journey is difficult, the meaning in literature is usually deeper than the literal interpretation. B. While it is a contrast, the Y-way itself is a tool used by the family to test Maria's character, making D the more complete answer. Edge knowledge. When analyzing literature, look beyond the surface. In a story about rural versus urban contrast, any element of the natural setting, a river, a field, the hay, often acts as a symbolic test or gatekeeper for the outsider. Question number 5. Which literary period in the Philippines is generally characterized by the themes of fantasy, magic, gods and goddesses, and tribal history? A. Spanish colonial period. B. Pre-colonial period. C. American colonial period. D. Contemporary period. Correct answer. B. Pre-colonial period. Why B is correct. The pre-colonial period, before 1521, is the earliest phase of Philippine literature. It consists of oral tradition, including epics, hudhud, darangan, riddles, bugtong, proverbs, salawikain, and folktales, all of which are rich in themes of creation, magic, and native deities. Why the wrong answers are wrong. A. Spanish colonial period, characterized by religious themes, pasión, and eventual political themes, propaganda movement. C. American colonial period, characterized by the rise of English language writing and the shift to modern short stories. D. Contemporary period, characterized by diverse, modern themes focusing on technology, globalization, and social realism. Edge knowledge. Think of the timeline. If the question uses words like epics, oral tradition, native deities, or ancestral, you are looking at the period before the colonizers brought in Christianity in Western forms. Pre means before. Question number 6. Which Filipino writer is most associated with the term new journalism and is famous for his insightful and lyrical prose in English, particularly in works that capture the essence of Filipino culture and identity? A. F. Sionel Jose. B. Carlos Palanca. C. Nick Joaquin. D. Amado V. Hernandez. Correct answer. C. Nick Joaquin. Why C is correct. Nick Joaquin is known for his sophisticated and lyrical prose, which earned him the term new journalism, or literary journalism, for his non-fiction pieces like those compiled in reportage on politics or his historical features. His style infused fiction techniques into non-fiction reporting. Why the wrong answers are wrong. A. F. Sionel Jose, known primarily for his novels, Rosala's Saga, which focus on social class and colonial history. B. Carlos Palanca, not a writer, but the name of the prestigious literary awards, Palanca Awards. D. Amado V. Hernandez, known for his Tagalog revolutionary literature, Luha ng Buwaya, not English language new journalism. Edge knowledge. The phrase lyrical prose in English is the biggest clue. No other major Filipino writer of his generation achieved the same level of sophisticated, almost poetic, English prose as Nick Joaquin. He is the master stylist of Filipino literature in English. Question number 7. The novel Banag at Sikat, Dawn and Sunset, by Lope K. Santos is primarily known for pioneering what kind of theme in Philippine Tagalog literature? A. Romanticism and courtship. B. Magical realism and folklore. C. Social realism and socialist ideals. D. Religious devotion and piety. Correct answer. C. Social realism and socialist ideals. Why C is correct. Banag at Sikat, 1906, is one of the first major Tagalog novels that explicitly tackled social issues, particularly the conflict between the oppressed laborer, manggagawa, and the wealthy landowner, may-ari. It advocated for socialist principles and the rights of the working class. Why the wrong answers are wrong? A. These themes were common in earlier awit and corrido, e.g., Florante at Laura. B. Magical realism is a modern, global genre not typically applied to this era's literature. D. These were the dominant themes of the earliest Spanish-era literature. Edge knowledge. Look at the titles. Banag at Sikat suggests a contrast, dawn versus sunset, rich versus poor. If you see a Tagalog title from the early American period that suggests conflict or light, dark contrast, think social realism or labor movements. Question number 8. The Filipino folk tale Mariang Sinukuan from Mount Arayat is an example of what pre-colonial literary form? A. Bugtong, riddle. B. Salawikain, proverb. C. Myth, legend. D. Darangan, epic. Correct answer. C. Myth, legend. Why C is correct? Mariang Sinukuan is a story about the mythical guardian and benevolent Diwata, fairy, goddess, of Mount Arayat. Stories that explain natural phenomena, the origin of a place, or the existence of supernatural beings are classified as myths or legends. Why the wrong answers are wrong? A. Bugtong, riddle, short, poetic puzzle-like verses. B. Salawikain, proverb, short, wise sayings that offer practical advice. D. Darangan, epic, a long, chanted narrative about the heroic deeds of a cultural figure, specific to the Maranao. Edge knowledge. Classify based on length and content. If it's a very short line, it's a bugtong or salawikain. If it's a very long heroic narrative, it's an epic. If it's a medium-length story that explains a natural phenomenon or a deity, like Mariang Makiling or Mariang Sinukuan, it's a legend, myth. Question number 9. Which statement accurately describes the major literary shift that occurred during the American colonial period? A. Spanish remained the primary medium for poetry and drama. B. Filipino writers reverted exclusively to oral tradition and native language forms. C. The introduction of English as a medium led to the development of the modern Filipino short story and essay. D. Literature was dominated by religious themes and the passion. Correct answer. C. The introduction of English as a medium led to the development of the modern Filipino short story and essay. Why C is correct? The American period saw the institutionalization of English through the public education system. This led to a group of writers who mastered the English language and adapted Western literary forms, specifically the modern short story, popularized by figures like Paz Marquez Benitez and Jose Garcia Villa. Why the wrong answers are wrong? A. Spanish waned, while English and Tagalog gained prominence. B. While native forms persisted, literature was heavily influenced by Western forms and languages. D. Religious themes dominated the Spanish period, not the American period. Edge knowledge. The American period equals English language. The introduction of English is the key identifier for the American period's literature. This is a foundational concept for literary history in the Philippines. Question number 10. The essay The Filipino is Worth Dying For by Benigno S. Aquino Jr. is an example of what type of literary nonfiction? A. Personal narrative. B. Argumentative, persuasive essay. C. Historical chronicle. D. Literary criticism. Correct answer. B. Argumentative, persuasive essay. Why B is correct? This is a famous political speech, essay where the author is arguing for the value and potential of the Filipino nation, urging his countrymen to fight for democracy. Its core goal is to persuade the reader, listener to believe in the Filipinos' worth, despite the hardships. Why the wrong answers are wrong? A. Personal narrative. While it contains personal reflection, the main purpose is political argumentation, not self-reflection. C. Historical chronicle. This focuses on a chronological recording of events, which is not the main purpose of the essay. D. Literary criticism. This involves analyzing and evaluating another literary work. Edge knowledge. Analyze the title and the context. When you see a title that is a direct, emphatic statement of belief or value, is worth dying for, the writer is making a strong argument. The core function of the work is to convince the audience. If this video gave you an edge, sharpen that like button and subscribe to stay ahead.